Good evening, everybody. The future viewers out there, hope you're having a good time. I'm having some fun here. It doesn't look much different in the preview, but the underlying systems are a little more robust. You might notice that they don't both go at the same time. That's because I added in tick, just so they don't go at the same time all the time, like the actual same instant. I added a little bit of extra. Randomly. So it's going to choose two random values. Anyway, that way they don't always go at the same time. It's just a little softness to this silly system. But really, the work that I've done kind of between episodes here is I made them actually classes. I reworked the constructor so you could put everything that you need in the constructor, or you could just ignore it and call new Neuro with nothing else in it, and then set the stuff later. And I did the same thing for the particles. All the particles can be made with an empty constructor, or you can specify all of the parts. And that's for generic particles, info particles, and flash particles. They all have all that extra stuff in them. And they call super properly so that everything gets tracked. And there's probably still some stuff I should clean up, like I should probably put that into actual particles. Do that. Yeah. And I started working on a physics engine. It's not really going to be much of an engine. The plan was to make it so that the neurons kind of float around in the field, and they're kind of attracted to the center when they're active. They're kind of attracted to the edges when they're idle. So, you know, down at the bottom, the active people are going to cluster together in the middle, and the people who are not chatting, they'll just kind of float off to the side, or this side. I should get rid of that thing. What am I doing? That doesn't need to be there. Yeah, that's a little better. Someday I'm going to replace this with something a little more in theme. But not today. What I wanted to do today is work on the dendries, which are supposed to connect the Neros. And so they have 2 points that define them overall, but I wanted them to have segments so that the flash can be seen to travel along it instead of, you know, just the whole thing flashing. I wanted to have like a minimum of 3 segments, but I think they should be able to have more if they're longer. And it would take more time to go through. So what I want to do is put it in so that you can just give the Dendry the 2 Neuros in the constructor, so that it already has all the information it needs. But so what I want to do is n1.x, n1.y, and 2.x, .x, not comma, dot, come on, seriously, 2.y. And so that will give but I need to wrap those, because if you just call the constructor, those are going to be empty objects and they're not going to have a .x or .y. So if type of n1.x is equal to undefined, not equal to undefined, type of has an E. There we go. But I need an else. There. And there's a better way to word all of that. Undefined 2y. Yeah. That fixes it. I can get rid of those. I love the question mark operator. It's like do a test, question mark, true, return this for true and that for false. It boils it down very simply. And, you know, if you think of it before you write out all the if statements, it's faster. So, if we have those, the nerves are going to equal these anyway. It's just wow, that was interesting. What am I trying to do? I think maybe I want to say if the two neuros are valid neuros as opposed to just being generated here, then we can generate the rest of the dendry information. So I should be able to say this dot length equals vector 2 dot distance and 1 and comma and 2. Why? Because this doesn't inherit physics. It's got vector 2 dot distance. Fine, won't make it depend. This is a very generic distance function. The Pythagorean theorem, the length of the hypotenuse is the square root of the squares of the sides of the other two sides. So one side is the difference in x. The other side's the difference in y. Squared. Yeah, the difference in y squared. So you add the two, the difference in x and the difference in y. I take the square root, and that's the length. And that's the distance between the centers of the neurons. I got to figure out what function I'm going to use to take it up to take this information, start drawing a box out on the edge of the neuron, the neuro. I need to define generic rectangles for each segment. And each of those rectangles should have line thickness and a color. Thoughts. It's hard for me to code at night. It'd be easier if I had a live audience instead of a possibly imaginary one, but it is what it is. One, two. How do you find the midpoint of a line? It would be like x1 plus x1 minus x2 divided by 2. These are all y's. And I should probably flip them to make sure x1 is left of x2. No. X1 is right of x2. It's a higher x. Right? X1's greater than x2, then we want x2 plus x1 plus. There. So it doesn't matter which one is higher or lower. This should make the point xy for the segment be the center between those 2 points. So if the length of a segment is just 10, basically I want to walk between. Oh, wait. Now, what if the segments are separate objects that, you know, the physics stuff works on. So it's like a chain that goes between them. And, you know, they can stretch and they can squish a little bit, but they can also, like, they're only connected at their ends. Hmm. You know, squishy rectangles. And there's a thought. Hmm. So it's not built in. At least it wasn't in September of 2020. If width is less than twice the radius, if height is less than twice the radius equals width, or half the width of half the height. Okay, so the radius is always going to be small enough. I get that. See, this one's a lot shorter. So you've got x and width and y and height and the radius, and it's just going to first corner, arc to the second corner, arc to the third, arc to the fourth, arc back to the first. Close the path. Yeah, 4 arcs. Close it. Can't control the corners independently. See my solution below. That's an interesting way to do it. You say radius, but in JavaScript you can send a number, or you can just send an object in that spot. So if type of radius is an object, then you can break it out. So side and radius. And so if you sent it the open parentheses, those close parentheses, it would put into radius side, so 0 would be whatever the first number was, and you go around to all the corners. Though I see this code dot upper left, and I'm like, really? Where did that come from? Ah, okay, I see. Corner radius is the variable, and it gives these values: upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, that way. And then I don't know if that would actually work if you're using strict JavaScript. It could be wrong, but unless you must specify. That's why they didn't like it, because they're modifying the actual base there. Interesting. Maybe I'll do that later. Today at work, I was playing around with the sparkles. I added a sparkle rate variable. So I was thinking that could actually be changed by chat actions. So, and the sparkle number could be changed by chat actions. So like, I can just go up here, say sparkle number 5 instead, and refresh that. And now there's all kinds of sparkles. It gets very pretty, and I can do the sparkle rate of lots more often. And so if you play with those two numbers, sparkles more often and more sparkles each time. So like, if you start out with the low end, well, wait. 12, 1. There. So this is like the lowest of the low for the sparkles. Use just a couple every once in a while. A couple. Kind of like shooting stars. Okay, more rare than shooting stars, but they're not always there. But then if there's like a chat command to increase them, yeah, then you go to like 1.5 and it gets a little more, and you go to 2 and it gets a little more. Everything wouldn't reset because that's going to be saved in the database. So you end up going all the way up to 9, which is this level of sparkliness. But then if you want to go up more than that, I would pull that down to 8 and go to 2 here, because it gets really sparkly. And then 3, refresh it. The interesting thing is the glitch site in Windows, when you make changes in the left side, the right side automatically updates. But on Linux, it waits for you to update. Or maybe there's that play button and all I gotta do is make changes now. Yep. Okay. Ha! I learned something. And you can see it gets really crowded. 0.8 and 4, 0.8 and 5. I mean, it's a really exciting, sparkly field of well, unknown sparkles. Like, everything's hectic and the energy level is high. We're all having a good time. So, like, I don't know. It could be chat actions that do it, or it could be just the number of people in the chat. So, the more people that are there, just the more is going on. I like the idea. Oh, yeah. I also put this in so I can have a Discord link just visible there. Not sure how good it'll look if it's big enough in stream. It should be all right, but there's no guarantee that that link will work now. But I did make a Discord server specifically for the people in this stream community. And, I had a lot of fun with Nova Liminal the other day. They had opened up their Discord to the public, and we were all just kind of hanging out and chatting, and that was fun. Though, yeah, I had to mute the actual stream so that the Discord uh, audio wasn't like a way late echo, and that was it was weird. It was from a listener standpoint. I don't think the streamer really has that issue, but I like the idea of having a handful of people from the chat just hanging out and chatting in voice. And so I made a server because I can do that. And I'm on there now. But since nobody's in the chat room, since nobody's watching, it doesn't matter so much. Someday, maybe people will like me. That sounds so sad. I'll quit. I'm having fun building these things anyway. So, back to the Dendries. So we get this data. So this is the center. X and Y. Century. That's not how you spell century, but that's okay. Hello.
What? Wahua?
I have a wild Jesmalone.
It is I have joined the VC.
Cool. Are you on the stream, or are you just in the VC?
I am just in the VC. I saw that you were on the stream, and I thought I'd come say hi.
Cool. Yeah, I was just lamenting about how nobody's watching, but you know.
Well, it takes a lot of time of nobody watching for some people to watch. It's nothing to.
You know, I'm not a cute girl with cleavage, so it's not an instant thing.
Not a cute girl with cleavage yet.
Yeah, you know, VTubing can do anything I want, really.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, my roommates are bullshitting at each other. But I figured I would at least stop by and say hi since I saw you were on. I saw you were on earlier, but I was too asleep to do anything.
Yeah, that happens. You should pop onto the stream, but mute it.
Mute the stream, otherwise I will drive myself in crazy. Yes, I will drive myself in crazy.
Right into crazy.
Twitch.tv/Eldering
Games. It's easy.
That's the wrong Eldering.
Not Eldering. Eldering Games.
I can't spell. It is now muted.
Cool. so you can see what I'm working on. And I was just playing with the sparkles. What I'm trying to work out is how to connect the Neuros with the Dendries.
Ah, of course.
I'm not quite there yet, but um, you can see my sparkly space, and like I was thinking that I could have these values changing possibly by chat actions,
Hmm.
so they could you know increase the sparkliness over the course of a stream.
Stream.
Or I could have it based on some number of active people who are chatting,
I like that idea.
and so it just the neural fluid in the background just gets more and more excited.
As brain activity increases.
Right.
Chat brain.
Chat brain. It looks weird when you have a low sparkle rate, but lots of sparkles, because it just flashes.
Yeah.
But that's kind of fun too.
And then you turn the sparkle right up to 15, and turn the background white.
Oh, if I do that, 100? Can it handle 100?
Yeah, let's see.
It's snowing. I'm surprised it can handle 100.
Might consider some
I
sort
mean,
of mathematical curve in that case.
do you see the number up here? That's the number of particles.
More than 2,000 of them.
Yes.
And it's just going.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with the solidity of the code I wrote, where the particles can just be created and forgotten about. And when they die, they're gone and garbage collected and everything's okay. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But 100 is a bit much.
Well, how high can the sparkle rate go?
Up to 1, which is
Increments of 0.1 or
any increments. I could do increments of 0.001, because the sparkle rate is the number below which a sparkle would happen. So I'm taking a random number, and if it's below sparkle rate, it makes a sparkle. The random number is between 0 and 1.
Okay.
So if I say 1, it's always below 1.
And so you'll always get a sparkle.
Yeah.
So even if you do 1 sparkle, you'll still get plenty of sparkles.
Well, if it's 1 and 1, that's what it looks like. It's not bad. I kind of felt that it was a little busy for... Oh, okay. How busy it feels to me depends on my mood. And 1 and 0.5 tends to be about right for my thinking. as a base. But 1 and 0.1 is interesting.
occasional sparkles.
Yeah, occasional sparkles. Kind of like shooting stars. A little bit.
Well, I'll let you get back to thinking on progress.
We.
I have other things I should do.
Okay. Well,
I work in a couple hours.
yeah,
I might be back
that
on
too.
tomorrow night.
Okay,
But I wanted to stop by and say hello.
cool. All right, well, have fun. Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. To find the Discord.
Uh, let's see. There. People I trust. So. That was some fun. There. So our little previews going okay. Oh yeah, that was a point that I noticed earlier. The players show up for some reason. I don't have a display name. The bot Idle Thinker has a display name, but for some reason Eldorn Games doesn't have a display name. Maybe I should do that instead of the Dendry. Get the users showing up and then do the connections later. So when the server updates, we get the player data. Fetch online players. Fetch player data. Online players. That's that. So what I want to do. If I use an object, see, one thing I was going to do is I was going to use the Neuro as the player data. So the Neuro has the username, it has that ID. And so what if I have an array. Do it the same. No, I don't have a way to delete neuros in the neuro class. So when they're put into the if we use an array just as an array and use a numeric index, then we would have to record that index in a string indexed array, basically a hash, so that the player ID, or the player name, maps to that index for the neuro, so that when we get updates from the server, we can map that quickly to the user neuro without having to go through and look at every neuro for every player that has updated data. Because that gets intense. If you got to look at each neuro and say, is that this player's neuro? No. Is that this player's neuro? No. Is that this player's neuro? No. And then you finally find that player's neuro, you update the information so it displays properly, and you go to the next player and say the same thing for every neuro until you find it. It's clunky, but I still want the numeric system so that I can go through the whole series like this. Huh, that's neat. It's not what I expected. Hyperslits. I wanted to... okay. uh, dot stringify. Thank you. Yes, functional. Because that way I'm just using the string address of the name in the neuro to get to it. So this would be, this wouldn't have the I counter. It would just be for each n in neuros n was for each, right? No, just four. And they are still displaying. So with that, so these two were created by hand. And they self-pushed in the neuro constructor. There. And because it's push, it's going to be so instead of that, we want to go this dot name equals this. So then it's based on the name. and then I can look up the name every time. And so when the user information gets updated from the database to the client, which is the view here, it doesn't have to search through all the neuros. It just grabs the name that's associated with the player and updates that object. I don't have to cycle through everything, and it might not matter even up to like having 20 people in the chat room. But if I ended up with 100 people or 200 people in a chat room, or if somebody decides that they want this in their existing popular chat on their stream, yeah, maybe modified for their own whatever, it could handle it. That's the idea. Okay. Oh, they're not updating anymore because over here in index, I only did one of those guys. This is the display end. Do that. There's N. Just replace I with N in these guys. That should fix it. Yeah. You know, I might need to fix that too. So I'm looking at how I did this so that like the info particle was supposed to show how many new points came in, but we don't know when new points were added. So what should do in here is have in the neuro points this dot points last points equals points in the constructor. You know, that's easy because whatever points it has, that's what it has now. And this dot last points equals this dot points before we increment them. Right? Right. And then back in the index, last points. And then if the current points, no matter when it was changed, if it was changed anytime in this tick by any code anywhere, not just in this function, yeah, this adds the normal thing like always, and it runs the tick. Okay, and it runs the tick, which is going to change last points, but we've already saved it. So since we have it saved here, even if something, well, something's definitely odd because I'm getting lots of pluses. Oh, right. Because, and not var, just Nero dot Nero's n dot last points equals points. There. So the difference in points is the difference from the last points to the current points. And then we set last points to the current points. So now we have the difference. And then we use the difference to make the info particle so that if something adds 10 points to one of those guys, it will actually do a plus 10 instead of a plus 1. But if it's just based on the power going up to the level, it's always going to be a plus 1. But if we come over here and refresh, and in the console, we do Nero dot Nero's user1 dot points plus equals 10. $1,000. That works. Doesn't matter how many points I add. It does the plus and the number of points. JavaScript consoles are so much fun. Okay, so I fixed something that wasn't exactly broken, but it wasn't doing what I wanted it to, and now it is. It's more solid now. And part of that was that I wanted to be able to add points, you know, a fixed number of points for events like chatting. And it's a good thing. It's like, you could chat, or other people's uh, Neros flashed and sent power along the dendry that made yours flash. Those are extra points. Um, and then if different people perhaps uh, purchase with the game points, not real life money or anything like that, but they use the points to buy upgrades for their Neros. It is an idle game after all. Um, then I'll be able to, they'll be able to buy the extra things like an upgrade. And I had some, if you look in the Neuro, some ideas of what upgrades might be, like multiplier. uh I don't even know what a lobe is going to be, or a node. I thought the synapse might just be a little like, it would look kind of like a bush sticking out that would increase how quickly it gains. Anyway, and Dendry, we're already working on those. But modifiers, upgrades, the fun things that you add to your little guy to make it better, and you do all that with chat commands, and it's fun, I hope. But back to the users. So now that I've got that, now I have a question. Player in online players. It's interesting that it doesn't have an actual error message, but it. Wait, 0 and 1? Oh, yeah. 0 and 1. So it's online players, open bracket, player, close bracket. I don't want the server update to be happening too often. There we go. I've got Twitch ID Idle Thinker and Twitch ID Eldern Games. And then Hey, my music stop? Is it just nearly silent? Confused. It's an OBS issue. Because I told it to monitor off and monitor back on, and now it works. All right. So, wait. So players. Hmm. All right. So players, I have online players. Should add all of the player data into the players array, but indexed on the Twitch ID of the player. And then players, player. And we'll see if that pulls up the correct info. So that's all the player data. And then the online players comes next, and it says undefined. Because... Right. Player.Twitch ID. That might fix it. Undefined still. Oh. First, let's do just player. What the heck do you see there? Zero and one. So okay. The relationship between the online players and the players is confusing me a little bit, and it's all my fault. But I can push through. So player is an index in online players. So if we do online players player, but dot Twitch ID, but we want to have that in players. That's the full player list. And then the online players is going to be those. Perfect. Got the last active and the chat count. Yeah. It looks good. Channel points, all that stuff is. So I can reference from online players to player info. It's a couple of dereferences, but I don't have to search through. Cool. So for that, next I have to ask question. About yeah. If in object. So what I want to do if not Twitch ID in hero.heroes, because now that that is indexed on the Twitch ID on the username, then we want to add the Nero, right? So go back up to init. Make those guys go away. now. That might work. He showed up, but they're on top of each other. I don't know why they're on top of each other. But yeah, it's weird. They shouldn't be on top of each other because if it's not in there, then we're adding one. And then we go through the cycle again. And we check if it's in there, and it's not in there. So we add it, but the length should now be a different number. Because we added one already. It's right there. We added one. So the length should be a different length now. So 50 times Neros.length should have given a different number. Zero. What? What? Did Nero not push its Nero's this dot name equals this? Do I have Nero's equals something? I mean, there they are. There it is. It worked. I created them. They're displayed. They're ticking. So yeah, it's going through the list of them, and that works. But then when I mean, these are working, but Neuro.Neuros. I'm confused because there it is. If I stringify Neuro.Neuros with a name in there, then it actually has data there. But if I just go with the base, it says it's an empty array. Maybe I need to change this. Now it's an object instead of an array. Will it show up? But now it shouldn't have a length. Crap. And that's going to cause very different issues. We'll see them here. Oh, I know where the issue is. No, I don't know where the issue is. Why? Ah. I might have to leave this as it is. Broken-ish. We've got some progress. It's kind of ugly, but it also works a little bit. There. Yeah, I cheated. Though, to be fair, I'm going to be trying to put in a physics system which is not real physics, but they're gonna make it so that the neurons can't overlap and they'll push each other away from each other, and so even if they appear on top of each other, they're just going to move off. And so that should fix that. But that's not for tonight. And I still have to implement the server counting the points instead of the client doing all the points, and then the points actually aren't on the server, and so anytime you refresh, they're just gone. That was not the plan. Still under development, but I think we're getting somewhere. I've got a link to who's in showing up as Neuros in the display. That's motion. But yeah, my brain is done for tonight. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but I think we've gotten someplace good. I can't do my console tricks with this one. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a night there. It's been fun. Had a little bit of chat with Aaron in there. And Jez Malone, my son, living his best life out there in the world. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you pick this up later in the future, hope to see you in real time in one of these streams sometime. If not, that's okay. I'm still having fun. Hope you have fun too, and hope to see you next time.